Morning, church.
Good morning.
We're going to sing 604. Stand and turn to 604.
But see, those aren't the original sayings. What's the original saying? Anybody know? Pardon?
20 miles an hour, I don't know.
Well, you know, my dad drove a truck when it was, like a truck was 15 miles an hour. It was a mile, wow, they're going a mile a minute. And you just don't, I mean, that's what I grew up on. They're going a mile a minute. Now, back then you were going 100. That was the generation before that. How things have changed, huh? Things change. Let us pull out the 400 silent years. Things have just changed. And what does not change? I change not. God doesn't change. So we're going to today, where do we get our information from? The Bible. Where do we not get our information from? The world? Huh? No. Where do we not get our, assuming there's one Bible. Where are people getting their information from today? CNN, YouTube. I mean, it's just nutso. It's nutso.
Your own head.
Their own what?
Your own head.
Your own head. Yeah, they're making it up on the fly. You know, how it feels. I'll tell you. But today we're going to get it where? Out of the Bible. Anyway, I guess we have tons of time. The food's not going to be here till 12:30.
What is it?
The chicken is to be picked up at 12:30. The pizza is like 12:15. Yes, Bill, it's the third week. And it's our 28th anniversary.
Where are we eating?
We're eating outside
Where is it? Outside.
on the wet benches and wet stones.
Geninos? Is it Geninos?
I have asked Mom. The girls took everything. Took care of everything. We did not get more tables. There's 2 tables here. They're going to be set up. I don't know if they're inside or outside. But the food will be in the lobby, I believe. So we don't have to battle with flies. And we'll eat outside. There's 15% chance of rain, so it's not going to rain. And we'll sit on the swings, we'll sit on the stones and eat and call it a day. Father, bless now the lesson. I pray that you would just nourish the saints and encourage us along the way. In Christ's name, amen. Let me ask you, we're going to preach on the rapture today, the second coming. Where's the earliest point? Now, I could be wrong. The earliest point where the rapture shows up in the Bible?
Enoch.
In Enoch? All right, before Enoch.
What?
No, I know.
Before that. Could it be the rapture shows up in Genesis 3? That's just food for thought for you, okay? Genesis 3.
Does that have anything to do with Cain?
Cain doesn't show up there, does he?
He's far.
No, Cain doesn't show up there. Cain doesn't show up till Genesis 4.
Sorry about that.
Yeah. All right. So let's look at the 400 silent years. This is the time between the Old Testament and the New Testament. And just general history that we could just read for ourselves. We'll probably move through this stuff really fast because we want to get into, there's the 400 silent years. Then there's I have another lesson before we get into Matthew. And let's see how fast we get. Oh, I know what I have. The Apocrypha is a lesson. We do that, and then we'll get into Matthew. By the way, where is the Apocrypha in the King James Bible?
It's not there right now.
It's not there right now, but where is it in the King James Bible?
In between the old and new?
It is in between the Old and the New. They included it in there, and one of the reasons that they have that in there is to show that it doesn't belong in there. I don't know. You have to go and ask these guys when they did it, why they did it like that. But that's where it is. The Apocrypha is in there. All right, 400 years without a direct word or vision from God to anybody. God takes his time. Just kind of quiet. We say the Old and the New Testament are the two lips of God. And it speaks to us.
He speaketh once, yea, he speaks twice.
Pardon?
He speaketh once, yea, he speaketh twice.
Oh, there you go. You see, you can come up with all kinds of verses like that, Maybe not all kinds, but that's really good. I've heard it said this, the two lips of God. And God takes his time. 400 years to him is, if a day is 1,000 years to the Lord, that's just a 1/6 of a day. What is that, 3 hours, 4 hours? That's not too long. Jerusalem was destroyed by the Babylonians 200 years earlier. Israel was destroyed by the Assyrians 135 years earlier. Destroyed by the Medo-Persian Empire. And so, where does that show up in Daniel? The book of Daniel. Anybody know? Now, these are assumptions. Where does it show up in Daniel? In one of the visions. Which vision? The book of Daniel. What is? Who's the one who's always building a dunghill? Nebuchadnezzar. He's always building a dunghill. And so he has a dream. And what's his vision of his dream? He has a couple of dreams. There's a few dreams. And if I get mixed up, straighten me out. He has the dream of the statue, right? The head of gold. And what's the bottom? What's the very bottom of it?
Clothes?
Pardon?
Clothes?
No,
Brass, clear brass?
it's not brass. It's clay and iron are the feet. The iron represents Rome, and the clay represents that Rome is really strong, but the clay means it's still going to crumble, and it collapses, and that's when the whole thing falls down, and then it raises up into a mountain, and God takes that over, becomes a mountain. It's one of those things where it goes from gold to different metals all the way down, and the Medo-Persia would be one of those sections of that the golden image of that statue that he sees. All right, King Cyrus ordered the temple to be rebuilt like 175 years earlier. Zerubbabel takes back the temple, back to the temple, 50,000, and then Ezra takes back 1,500 men. Nehemiah was the one that rebuilt the wall like 70 years after Ezra and Zerubbabel went back. And then the Jewish remnant returned to Jerusalem, and the temple was rebuilt, the wall was rebuilt, worship restored, and the masses of Jews remained in the land. Most of them stayed in captivity. Why did they stay there? Why did they vamonos amigos?
Comfortable?
They get comfortable, they didn't leave the land, they intermarried, and if you could not go back as a priest, why could they not be a priest?
They didn't know the lineage.
They intermarried, and they did know the lineage. Those records were kept. They did know the lineage, they had to check the lineage to make sure they could be a priest, and there weren't a lot of them that qualified because they intermarried. That was a no-no. And all those records are destroyed. All that is destroyed. It's kind of like what you do at the end of the year after 10 years. What do you do with your papers? Where'd you put them?
Shredder.
In the shredder. And you wonder why you saved them in the first place. Well, all that stuff is gone. It's all lost. All right, the political history. You have the Babylonians, the Persian Empire. Oh, there it is, Daniel 8:20. The Greeks, Daniel 8:21. These names, where would you find these names? Cassander, Lysimachus, Ptolemaios, Seleucus. Where would you find those names?
Daniel chapter 8.
It says Daniel chapter 8. Let's go there. I don't believe they're in there. But let's go there. Go to Daniel 8. 20 and 22. The ram which thou sawest having two horns, the kings of Media and Persia, and the rough goat is the king of Grecia. The great horn between his eyes is the first king. So you got Media, Persia, and Grecia. Now, these names obviously are not given. Where would you find those names? I mean, I just get this. I don't research this. We get this out of another book. I read and read and read. I get this out of another book. Where do they get these names? How do they come up with this? Other books. What other book did they have back then? I can't think of it right now.
Jasher,
Josephus.
Josephus.
As a historian, Josephus was a historian back then, and so you would have that there. He records that you could still see the giants back then. And some say, well, no, that was dinosaurs, but you could see the bones of the giants. You could still see that. And Josephus records that. So you have to go to other books to get these names. And by the way, whenever these historians cross the Bible and go against the Bible, once the archaeologists start digging around, They always prove the historian's wrong, the Bible's correct. Okay, Maccabean was 143 to 63 BC. A certain period. Rome, 63 BC to Christ. How long was Rome around? 1,000 years. And then it splits off into how many kingdoms? Did that split off? Well, we're going back to high school now in history, world history. All of us that I don't know what they teach today in world history. Did that divide into two kingdoms? I think it's Constantinople. You had, and the Pope is in power, and that's why you have the two legs of Rome. There's two legs, so you got two separate kingdoms. That collapses, on this golden statue and all. And so Rome lasted 1,000. They say that the road beds are still there, that lead off to Germany and lead off here, and that is still there. When they built it, it was built.
There's Roman stuff everywhere. England, the Middle East, Africa, it's still all there.
Where? Down say
Everywhere. Middle East, England.
England.
Northern Africa.
It was on Paul Harvey.
It's not rare stuff. It's all over the place.
No, it isn't. Paul Harvey, on there, the kid gets his metal detector. First day he has the metal detector. And he's going beep, beep with a friend. And he's down at the mailbox by the street. And he's going beep, beep, beep. And he hits this cache of gold. It's all Roman coins. And so it was buried there like 1,000 years ago. And, that's what you want to do the first day when you get the metal detector. Is you get that, And so he found the whole stash of it. And a lot of that stuff is not, when we say it's not rare, it's not as valuable as you would think, because it is semi-common. All right? And those that are gold searchers looking for gold out in the ocean, what gold are they looking for? Spanish. I think what they pillaged out of Peru and from South America, what they stole from all those people. Okay, Persians, they were monotheistic, making most of the 200 years uneventful. Cyrus, you had these three there during that reign. Now notice, this is recorded, this stuff. This is not part of the 400 silent years. The Zerubbabel, Haggai, and Zechariah, Nehemiah is 444 BC. During that moral and spiritual reformation, the Word of God is elevated. During that period, so morally, what did Nehemiah do? Morally. I'm pretty sure it's Nehemiah. They read the Word of God aloud. They met, they would read the law, and then what did he do morally? What were they doing back then? What did the people do with it? That's why Jesus goes to and witness to the woman at the well. What is she? She's a Samaritan. What is a Samaritan? There was a car running around on West 30th Street. Who lives on near West Side? Samaritans. And what are they? No.
They're intermingled.
They're Puerto Ricans, they're Latinos, they're wherever those borders touch, there's intermarriage. There was a hot rod running around, like a 56 Chevy. And he had printed on the side, when you intermarry, if you married an Indian, you were called, in the Westerns, what were you called? Anybody know the term? It's probably unwokable,
Half-breed.
Half-breed. He had it printed right on the hot rod, half-breed. And he's running around. Well, it was probably the cool thing to do back then. And he was riding around that hot rod, and it said half-breed. Well, that's not wokeable. It's not very wokey today. But yeah, you're a half-breed, right? And the guy got fired over it, the guy from Las Vegas, over the comment he made about why blacks are really good at athletics and whites are not. What was his name? He got fired about 30 years, 40 years ago. I can't think of his name. No, not Howard Cosell. He made the comment, he said, well, it's why the blacks do really, they're good halfbacks and they're really good at what it is because they didn't intermarry. They don't intermarry. Whites intermarry. If you look at old pictures, just look at old pictures. Here's the Czechs, the English. If you look at hillbillies in the mountains, you know, the Beverly, they're all English, or the Irish. They all intermarry until we become what we are today, where the blacks don't do that, and they become, you know, athletic and stronger and bigger. That's what he claimed, and he got canned. He was toast. He got fired right away as soon as he said that.
Yeah, the obvious truth is,
The obvious is offensive. It's just offends people. But you see, you can't, when you look at people today, you can't tell. If you look at old pictures, I mean, you know, the size of the nose, the way everything is shaped, we're just one big, what do you call that kind of a dog?
A month.
A mutt or a mongrel? Pardon? A Heinz 57. White people are Heinz 57, black people are not. Now, they're probably more intermingling than ever before.
You say that now, I'm on a job, and they might put you in jail.
They might actually put you in jail. But they definitely, anyway. They are tall and big, right? All right, the Greeks. 333 to 143 BC, Alexander the Great, the Ptolemies, the Seleucids, and it gives the dates as to when they reigned. I don't feel led to go through all of that. But you see, there are people who are called to do that, and they're very interested. Name something that somebody could be interested in that the general public is not interested in. Astronomy. The general public's, are they interested in astronomy or astrology?
Astrology.
Yeah, they're interested in witchcraft, but not astronomy. Name something else.
Basket weaving.
Huh?
Basket weaving.
No. Yeah, they turn basket weavers out of college all the time, it doesn't. No, it's a topic that people are not interested in. Well, investigating all of it.
Study.
Huh?
Bible study.
Bible study. Take this as an example. To get this history out here, somebody is called to do that. I personally am not called to do that, but somebody is interested in doing that. And we can't fault them for that. That's their interest. They do that. They compile these books and they teach it. Maccabee has Manian period. Maccabees, they actually make movies about this stuff and the destruction of the Jews during this time. Judas Maccabees, the civil leader, religious leader, so on, shows the power of the high priest. Moving on, the Roman Empire, 63 BC to Christ. There's civil war, you could say what you want about slavery, but it brought salvation to hordes of people. Without it, I mean, if you look at, what did they call Africa? What continent is it?
The dark continent.
The dark continent. Because it's just filled with witchcraft and barbarianism. It's awful. It's awful. And by the way, who's the one that captured them all and sold them?
The blacks.
The blacks. The whole thing is one big mixed up mess.
Muslims.
Yeah, the Muslims, the blacks, they're the ones that captured them.
The Muslims captured white people, sold them into slavery.
And they capture white people. And what do they call that kind of slavery in America, white people?
Equal opportunity.
You are what kind of a slave? An indentured slave.
That was voluntary though.
Voluntary, you had to work that off. Yeah, they capture white people. What is Robinson Crusoe? The whole story of Robinson Crusoe. He's a rebellious kid, an 18-year-old kid. He takes, I think he's, what about, the one story, Walt Disney did a movie on it. They catch the kid, they sell him into slavery. He gets off the ship, gets back. His uncle has him sold because he's going to inherit the money.
Oh, kidnapped.
Kidnapped. And that's all being sold, white people being sold into slavery. I mean, it was a hot market. Right? Easy money. An indentured slave. Anyway, Julius Caesar and so on, all these individuals as to when they reigned through here. The sons and grandsons and so on. Oh, and then the Herods and the Caesars. Herod and the Caesars, there's 6 of them. The idea, when you say Herod or Caesar, it's not necessarily their name. It would be equivalent to what we would call governor. Give me another title, the top one here. President, prime minister. Those would be more titles than individual names. All right, the religion, philosophy. No matter where you go, no matter what culture, there's a belief in the afterlife. And so, and gods, you have single gods, multiple gods, and so on. Venus, Mars, Diana, Jupiter, Aphrodite, Eris, Artemis, Zeus, and so on. Mercury, Jupiter, and this shows up in the New Testament. Mercury and Jupiter, Mars Hill, and Diana. Diana of the, what's the rest of the verse? I think it's Diana of the Ephesians. And by the way, that's all in that area. What's the sea there?
Aegean?
I don't know. The Mediterranean, there could be little seas in there. The Mediterranean, maybe there's pockets, and they call those different seas an Aegean Sea. And why are all those towns there? And why is it populated like that? There are ports. You didn't have steam trains. You didn't have wagon trains. You didn't have highways. You didn't have cars. You didn't have freeways. It was a way of traveling and having commerce.
And Corinth, that was huge.
Corinth is huge. All of that, and it's all on the coast, and that's where Paul goes. And why did he go to those places? Because that's where the people are. That's where the people are. So you tend to want to go wherever you're going to be spreading the gospel, where it's kind of populated. Emperor worship. Most emperors, after they were claimed by Roman Senate to be deities, they made them a deity. Nero, and so on. It's kind of like the Pope, folks. It's just ungodly worship. Ungodly worship. Mystery religions. It's personal. You experience. It's emotional. Secret rites. Name a group that has secret rites. The what? I can't.
Freemasons.
Oh, the Masons. Yes. Yeah, I want to go to the Masons. Special rites. Secret rites. Secret rites. There's secrets. When we met at the Masonic Lodge, where there was a Baptist church here, we went there, and there was a picture of a guy sitting there and a woman whispering in her ear and saying, "Shh, don't tell, because it's secret rites. They have these secret, it's just an ungodly mess, the whole thing. Secret rites. No intellect, no teaching. It's emotional, it's charismatic, no Bible. It's all to do with your experience. And you make it up as you go, man. In every culture, they claim, that's what I've heard, or you see on TV, every culture has part of their culture a flood. A flood, as Noah's flood. That this is part of everywhere you go. So this universal flood, wherever you go, there's a flood. That's what I've heard. Gnosticism. What is Gnosticism? It means they don't necessarily know whether or not God exists. Christian Science. And, the word actually means we don't know. We don't know. I think that's what a not.
So it's agnostic.
Oh, maybe.
No-so is no-so, so you know.
Yeah, I'm just trying to find these. A Gnostic, and then the other is
Agnostic.
agnostic.
Gnostic is all about knowledge and gaining knowledge.
Yeah. Agnosticism, knowledge is primary.
Okay, changing certain knowledge. Matter evil, spirit is good. I mean, there are people, literally, they believe that this isn't real. And they walk amongst us, folks. It goes on and on and on. And you don't have to reinvent this. I don't know where they get their information from. YouTube, it's just abundance of it, man. It goes on and on. Epicureanism is Friday and Saturday night. Eat, drink, and be merry, man. As soon as service is over, let's get home and watch the Browns and load up with Miller. Stoicism, to be a stoicism, whatever will be, will be. What's her name sang the song? What's that called? Yeah, Doris Day sang it. Que sera, sera. Whatever will be, will be. Nothing's new, folks. Nothing's new. Oh, there it is. Que sera, sera. Science and philosophy. And Paul had to deal with all of that. Just like we deal with it today. Just like we deal with it today. The religious groups. There's the scribes. These are the people that popped up during this time. The scribes, the Pharisees, the Sadducees, the synagogue, the Sanhedrin. None of this existed prior to this. Now, the Sanhedrin, about the 70 elders, and we have 71 total there, where does that show up in the Bible, in the Old Testament? They ate with Christ, they ate with God on the mountain, and they gathered 70 elders. That's where they say that, well, that's probably where that came from. So when they try Jesus, they get that Sanhedrin together. This ruling class. Don't we have what do they call a ruling class here? What do they call Washington? It's the swamp. And there's this ruling class. They run it all. I don't know why people keep watching it. The drumbeat on MSNBC and CNN is Trump. We got to get Trump. And the drumbeat on 360 on Fox is we got to get that Hunter guy, Hunter Biden. And it's the same story every night. Yes.
I believe the Sanhedrin goes back to Moses.
Yeah, it's going back to Moses where they...
To divide up the business of the
Judging?
yeah.
Yes. Is that the father-in-law says, this isn't good. You're going to kill yourself. You're going to wear yourself out. You need help. And that's where that kind of stuff begins. Yes. Yeah, you're right. It goes back to that. All right, and we are over the time, and we finished it. But that kind of caps the 400 years. We're going to go on to the... we're 10 minutes till we have tons of time. So don't get mad at me if I kind of drag my feet during service. Say a few
The
things.
Nazarenes overthrow the Romans,
They tried to.
okay.
You know, they made a movie about that. They hold up on a mesa, on that tabletop, and yeah, Posada, what? Yeah, there's a movie. Yeah, Masada. Yeah, you've seen the movie too. Yeah.
Good?
Yeah, but they finally starve them out, and they finally make it over there, and the Romans do them in. The Romans are builders. They build a big ramp, and it's Hollywood.